Hello, it's Michala. We have made an analysis and interpret of the text business philosophy. I'm going to talk about the narrative point of view. The narrative point of view is a first-person point of view with a limited omniscient perspective. He is therefore unreliable because it is a first person, but also because of his moral stand. He is subjective because he only thinks about himself, like in this example. Look at it from my point of view. It's not easy trying to make an honest living in these parts, but my business philosophy is to give my customers what they want.
Hello, it's Annastacia, and I will talk about the characterization of the main characters. And I will start with the protagonist, who is a pimp, and he lives on his business philosophy. He blames his customers of being the bad people because they are the ones behaving badly, and so that he doesn't look bad himself. The protagonist's main focus is to make his customers happy and he blames the society because he sees his business as necessity. He sees the girls as materials and objects and describes them as girlies like he does in this example, nice, willing, pretty girlies. The fact that he calls them girlies is because he doesn't see them as grown-ups and treats them like children. It is very demeaning and makes the reader think that they actually are his property and not an individual. The protagonist uses his physical weakness to justify the moral weakness because he suffers of rheumatism described as gout in the text, like in this example. When your toe is as red as a beetroot and arching like a rotten tooth, it takes your mind off the job. And now I will describe the girl Katja, who is one of the protagonist's girls, who he calls Silly Bin. She is a pretty girl, and the protagonist therefore thinks that he can earn a lot of money off her, like he describes in this example. She was a pretty dolly, and I reckon that once she quietened down a bit, she'd be a good earner. She, however, doesn't like his business philosophy and decides to run away. Now I want to describe the woman that Katja flees to, and she's described by the protagonist like in this quote. The bitch that runs, it is one of those hairy anti-sex lesbian communist religious sour pants whores. You know the type I mean. Can't get a man for herself, so wants to spoil it for everybody else. She is the woman who helps Katja and goes to the police station with her. She is a contrast to the protagonist of her because of her willingness to fight back. He violates the human rights and she fights for them.
Hello, it's Michala again. I will talk about the language and style of writing. Marina Luca provokes us as reader through her language, like in this example. She wanted to run away back to mommy, where the girl Katja is described as a child wanting to run away. But she also uses humor, for example by her description of the protagonist's nephew Branko, like in this quote. He's a big Bataki lad with a heart of gold and a potato dumpling for a brain. They used a rhetorical question like in the following quote. You can always be clever in the hindsight, can't you? We don't need to answer the rhetorical question, because he's the type with all the answers himself. She uses figurative language to describe the people. Well, no one wants a girl that's gone mushy inside. She writes the text in a very patronizing language that the protagonist would probably use. This makes it more believable and reliable, like in this quote. So, we take the handcuffs off her.
Hello, I'm Sara, and I will talk about the setting, and I will start with the physical setting. The story takes place in the Balkans, which is a region of the Southeast Europe, like we see in this example. Does she think there is a shortage of waitresses in the Balkans? In the southeast of Europe, there is a tendency to having an industry with white slavery through prostitution, and this is also seen in the text where it is more normal because the police don't even do anything about it like we see in the quote, the police did their best, told her to shut up and promised they'd take her back to her mommy if she behaved herself. The social setting is about the fact that the text is written about the lower class in the society because it's about pimps and prostitutes. And now I will talk about the conflicts. At first, Katja is beaten and locked up, but then afterwards she gets away and ends up with the woman who helps her to go to the police. The police confront the protagonist with his business, and he therefore loses some customers, but this is not such a big loss because he gets new customers through time. And this we see in the example. And then strike me dead, another bunch of wankers start poking their noses in. The girl Katja gets back to her mommy, but the protagonist just laughs at the situation and keeps on his business. And at last, I want to talk about the author's message, and to inform the reader that the author wants to inform the reader that there still exists slavery, but not only with blacks, but also white slavery, and in this case, prostitution. The author wants to highlight this problem and set focus on the loss of human rights. She also indirectly confronts us with our tendency to turn the other cheek to a problem like this, for example, like the police do in the text. At last, she wants us to reflect upon this and do something about it.